We're looking at specific modules that you can take advantage of, and today's session really is going to focus around working papers management and the fixed asset register. But we're looking to put on other sessions again for our CCH customers. So some of you have already identified there is a poll running at the moment with a message that I put on the screen. The purpose of the poll is just to get a bit of your interaction and ask you some questions on what you intend to get out of the session today and what layouts you already use. Some of you may have been on the session in the morning, which thank you very much for coming on the session afternoon. This will be far more detailed than what we covered in the morning session. The morning session was intended for people who haven't got CCH. The session today is for people who have already purchased CCH Accounts Production and they just want to have a look at these two individual modules. But everybody can get the benefit out of the session today, and also an opportunity to ask questions. So I'll give you just a few more minutes just to answer the questions in the poll. There's quite a large number of attendees on the session, so there's well in excess over 100 people, probably about 130 people booked on for the session this afternoon, so quite a large number. So I'll try and address your questions as much as I possibly can as we work through the material. So again, I'll leave you just with a couple more minutes just to answer the questions in the poll, so you should see that on the right hand side, and I'll check back again with you in just a minute or so. Okay, thank you very much for your responses in the poll. Again, I'll just introduce myself for those of you that have just arrived. My name is Abdullah Wamala and I'm a pre-sales consultant at CCH, a Wolters Kluwer company. The objective of today's session is to look at the newest features of CCH Accounts Production, namely Working Papers Management and Fixed Asset Register. We'll be looking to do more of these sessions in the future. Now today's session, it will only be a brief session, probably around about 30 minutes or so, with some time at the end for a bit of an open forum, some questions. And as you've seen with the polls, I may be asking you some questions about your current software accounting requirements and what your expectations, and I'll also discuss a bit about the roadmap as well, so what types of features are more important for you going forward. Now the session will incorporate live demonstrations of how you can use Working Paper Management and the Fixed Asset Register, so you can get a feel for it, of how it will operate in your own working environment. Like I mentioned, there's an opportunity for you to ask questions. For those of you who haven't used GoToMeeting before, you should see there's a questions and a chat box as well, where you can post some questions across to me. Now I'll be looking to answer those questions towards the end of the session, but again, if you just populate them, any things that come to mind, I'll just glance over as I'm working through the material and see if there's any questions, anything pertinent that I might raise at that particular point. So we'll endeavour to try and cover as many points as possible, but should you feel the need, I'll leave my contact details at the end of the session so you can email myself directly should you have any further questions that you'd like to take offline. So what are we going to cover today? I've got three main topics that I would like to talk about that we'll delve in and out of. In terms of the Working Paper Management, and again, this is for users who already have purchased Accounts Production, there will be a new maintenance area that you'll need to gloss over should you wish to adopt it. I'll talk about the key features within maintenance that you need to look out for. We'll look at how to access and actually use Working Paper Management, and what tools are available, whether or not it's a template designer, whether or not you want to use the sign-off, the review, or the sticky notes area. Now that'll probably take about 20 minutes or so to do that session. Secondly, we'll have a look at the Fixed Asset Register, and this will delve not only into the Fixed Asset Register by way of accounts, we'll have a look at it by way of tax as well, because the Accounts Production and the corporation tax, as well as the personal tax, do link quite intrinsically in this particular area in the Fixed Asset Register. It is designed to save you a lot of time, and it will be completely apparent when you have a look at the demo. The personal tax, the reason why I'm not covering personal tax today is the personal tax integration has only just gone out today, but it will be exactly the same. You should have received a bulletin to say that the 2017.1 release Service Pack 2 has gone out, so it will integrate with personal tax. So whereas I will talk about corporation tax today, you'll get the same integration with personal tax as well. I'll talk about automatically posting the depreciation, what that will do, and also transferring my data out of Accounts Production into CT and back again. The third section that I'll talk about is mainly the training options. Thankfully, you should see as I work through the material today that it's really easy to pick up these products. We do provide training material, training collateral for you. I'll point out where that is, and if any of you do require more in-depth training requirements, I'll give you the details of the professional services team that can provide on-site training or customized webinars just for your practice. So there's quite a bit to cover today. We'll start off with just a bit of an overview of working papers, what they are, and how we access it within the software. Now, I gather that most of the attendees today are all accountants, and we all complete our accounts workings in very much different ways. And from what I can see from the poll, it does support a lot of the research. I think about 70% of you or more predominantly use Excel to do your own workings. Some of you might use software, some of you might use your own bespoke system, some of you might even use paper, and also there are some others that are in there, just a small number, about 10%, that use another format. So there's many different schedules, and you might have different locations on the network where you store your working papers. Now within this mixture, there's probably a lack of consistency, so I've asked the question on the poll, what is the main driver? And the main driver is really, I think a lot of you can see that because you're already using CCH Central, isn't it best to have something that's incorporated into Central rather than using an external third party? And also, one of the other things that I've seen is that there is a bit of a driver towards a paperless office as well, for those of you who haven't yet adopted a non-paperless system. So CCH Working Paper Management, it is a central module that delivers easy, paperless way to manage, store and access the working papers for each of your clients or companies on the system. The aim is to keep track of all your source documents, keep the evidence when you're producing a set of accounts, and have it in one single place. So how does it work? Our customers work within CCH Central. Central is the central application that stores all the client and practice information, so it made sense for the Working Papers module to be incorporated from within there. This allows it to take advantage of functionality such as Document Manager. So as you see, when I'm adding in my working papers, there's a document management element, whereas if I create a working paper, I can store it in Document Manager, or if I already have a document in Document Manager, I can bring it down as a working paper using an external document as an add-in. It offers the facilities for users to create working papers from templates, blank documents, Excel documents. So that's great news. Again, just echoing what people have on the poll. The vast majority of you use Excel for your working papers. So you can bring those into CCH Working Papers Management, and you can use the functionality such as the sign-off, the versioning, and so on and so forth that you have within CCH, but have it on your Excel documents as well. So it adds in plugins within there. Now the way that you access the Working Papers Management is in CCH Accounts Production under the statutory database. I will talk about what this means going forward in some of our plans that we intend, because I think one of my poll questions may have been, would you like to see this Working Papers Management in taxation? So I will just do a poll at the end, because again it's mainly geared around accounts production at present. Now the Working Papers Management, it is a module that we're excited in releasing, as we've got some customers who use ProCap, the legacy product at CCH, for many years, and that had a version of working papers in it, but now you've got a much improved and integrated equivalent. But new customers will also feel the benefits as well, whether or not you're an accountant in practice or an accountant in industry seeking a method just to store your workings for audit and accounts prep. So let's take a look. I'm in a screen that you should all be familiar with, which is CCH Central. And I talked about the key addition within Central is there'll be a new maintenance area. So within file maintenance, you'll find that right at the bottom there's a new working paper section should you activate it. So there's not a separate install required, it's still on the same CSI, it just needs to be activated. You need to set these up before you start using working papers management on the system, because you can stipulate which working paper style or regime that you're using. It was the final question on the poll. So we've got preset CCH Standard, Mercia, which I think was the second most popular, PCAS, and you can see I've also tried to create my own indexing pack. Now the ability to create your own indexing packs does not exist in the current version at present, but you can still base your working papers on some of the standard packs and then tailor them from there. So this is a future feature that we're going to introduce in working papers management. I think Mercia was the most popular of the main ones, so I'm going to select that. Now it is a one-time switch. If you pick Mercia and then change it to CCH Standard, it will wipe off what you've done before. So again, you just need to set this up right at the very start. Now in terms of signing off the different working papers, we need to stipulate the roles in the business. Each role have a unique colour assigned to them. So just as I'm logged in as a preparer, I'm going to put myself in as green. I've got a reviewer level and a partner reviewer level, but I can just double click on an item and I can change the colour if I see fit. So if you see green ticks or like purple crosses all over on your working papers, you can identify who in the business has ticked the relevant option, or who it's required, or who a certain facility needs to be made attention of. Now also within the maintenance area, I've got my sections, my indexing sections referencing. So again, this will just adopt what I have from either PCAS, Mercia or my own. Just at the top, there is, and I've said before, the working papers are mainly dealt with within accounts production, but we have put in placeholders to introduce working papers in CT and PT over time. So I mentioned that I'll just ask this as a question towards the end of the poll, whether or not, which one do you think should have the priority, or whether or not accounts production working papers is sufficient for you. Once that's selected, again I can return back to the maintenance, to the next section. Now you've got the ability to create your own templates, and this links it well with the working papers designer. So the idea is we provide you with the standard lead schedules under the CCH, Mercia and PCAS, but if you have your own manual or bespoke, which was also ranked quite highly in the polls, you can go through and create and adopt your own templates for working papers for individual sections. Let's say you had your own workings for creditors, for instance, in an Excel document. You'd like to bring that in as a template rather than using the CCH standard one. So this is done in the maintenance area under the templates as an overall master. So the way that this works is, and it's integrated with document management, is that you can add in Word documents or Excel documents as a template for a working paper. This will create a mail merge with the different fields that you have from within Central. So if I just click on Create, and then I add in, I want to do my own workings in an Excel document, let's say fixed asset investments. What this will do is it will create a mail merge, and you'll see this within CCH document filing. So I've actually got Excel open here now, and it's given me the merge fields from within Central. If I log out, and if I go into a Word document, we're just going to edit this one. you can see my Word document contains the central mail merge fields. So this is exactly the same. So you can pre-design using Word or Excel the layout for the working paper that you need. Once that's completed, you need to save and check this document back in. So in effect, it's a bit like Document Manager checking out a document, editing it, and then checking it back in for versioning purposes. Now, it's not incumbent that you need document management to do this feature. It works together quite well. This particular aspect, let's say if you're not using Document Manager, will be provided just for working papers, should you want to just have working papers without document management. Now that I've designed my templates using the mail merge for it within Word or Excel, I do have the final maintenance area, and that is the designer. So the designer is currently in read only for the marketplace version, but in a future version it will be unlocked, so everyone will have the ability to design their own indexing packs from beginning to end. But as you can see, because I'm using the Mercia indexing pack, here it's all read only, I can't change that, but I can create my own indexing packs, my own layouts. And again, if that's something you're interested in, we would recommend you do some consultation on it with us first. So those are the main features about setting up working papers, what types of indexing packs are available, and in terms of the templates, what templates you can create. I'm going to access a client, Dewberry UK, and within Central I've got my Accounts Production tab, so I'm just going to open up my 2016 period. The statutory database where the financial reporting stores the working papers. And again, there's a lot going on my landscape screen, so I'm just going to move the taskbar just to make it a bit more visible to you all. Now I'm using the Mercia working papers layout. So I've got my general folder with my planning section and the permanent file. I've got my P&L elements and then my individual sections for assets. You can see that it gives me the Mercia layout of reference codes. Now the key to this is when you are in a particular working paper, it gives you a WP reference. At the top, you've got, in addition to what you already have in the statutory database here on the left-hand side, you've got the ability to add your own working papers or add your own subfolders or move papers around, up and down, delete them off. We also have the levels as well, which we discussed. This is for sign-off procedure. You can also see my purple partner there, just on the right-hand side. So how do the working papers work? I've got my lead schedule here just bang in the middle for creditors within 1 year. My different line items. This is a standard lead schedule. As you can see, I've got my comment section at the end. Type in a comment in there, that's fine. So this is what you already receive within Accounts Production. But the management area is the ability to have sign-off notes, links, and referencing. And all of this is dealt with on this screen just on the left-hand side. The first icon is the sticky note. So the sticky note, if I click on that, allows me to, if I want to make a mark or a comment on a particular figure, highlight it, put in my comment, and then mark it for the attention for someone. Messages are posted, and when you have a posted message, you can choose whether or not the finalization of the accounts can be stopped if they're outstanding queries almost on the system. So if I post a message for a particular attention for someone, you can see as I'm the preparer and I'm in the green color, I now have clearly identified there's a note on there that I need to address in green. So I can choose in the overall settings that the accounts cannot be finalized, for example, if there is an outstanding note or query that needs to be checked. So I've got my notes here. and I click on edit, and if I'm logged in as the reviewer, I can tick that it has been cleared and update the message. You can see now, rather than it being green, it's now in grey. Now the other aspect is linking figures. So there's a paperclip. So this is useful if you want to cross-reference a figure from one schedule to another. But it's also useful if you want to cross-reference a completely different document from one to another. So for instance, on my fixed assets, let's say I had a surveyor's report, a surveyor's valuation on a PDF. I could bring that in and then link the figure that I have for fixed assets to the surveyor's report. So this is where linking becomes important. It's not just within lead schedules, but it's with other documents as well. So by clicking on link, I can select the figure that I would like to link to an external source or document. Find the necessary lead schedule that already exists. And then I can link it to that. I can also link it to multiple schedules. Now let's say I've got, in the case of the fixed assets that I just mentioned, I had a document or an Excel file external to CCH. I'd like to bring that in. So this is where I could go to add new. This allows me to link my figures to another page or a note within CCH already. So I've got my choices on all my different pages. From a template, so you should recognize these were the Excel templates that I made before. If I'm using Document Manager, I can bring in a document from there. Document Management also links with Outlook. So let's say I had something emailed across with me, and Document Manager has managed to grab that out of the emails within Outlook. I could link it to a message that has been sent, as you can see here, via email, and put that onto my lead schedules as well. And if I don't have each of those, and I just want to browse to a file that I've got somewhere on my hard drive, I can use from disk. So I'm just going to use my tax workings XLSX file. Press OK. It successfully added it as a working paper. And what I should see is now I've got a new reference here, J27, my tax workings. It also has a link here to creditors within 1 year. Now I didn't really do anything in there in that document, so I can still use Excel and start typing my details, so I can export that and start editing it. But I can change the positioning using the move up, move down. You can see I'm moving it up. So I can pick the position. Notice how it's changed the referencing for me as well. And in addition to that, I now have a paper clip on the item that I have linked. Now once I'm happy with my lead schedule, the third and final section is the sign off. So again, this is where I've got my 3 different colors for the different roles. So using the green tick, I will then tick that it has been signed off. And this time everything has been finalized. I cannot make any further amendments. I can also notice that I've got a green tick here on the left hand side. Should I wish to undo it, I can do by just clicking on the remove sign off button. Like I've mentioned before, it's not mandated that you need to have everything ticked off and finalized, but if you want to do that, you can change the processes in maintenance to make sure it's mandatory. So hopefully you should have seen that there are quite a few benefits of using the Working Papers Management module within CCH Central. First and foremost, it does standardize everything, and you can select your pre-made templates or methods, or even design yours. across the practice or business. Everything is brought into one place, so rather than having Excel documents and Word and PDFs all over the place, you can bring it into one clear area and interlink them. And the editing of the templates is quite straightforward, and also the review points are clearly displayed for managers and partners who wish to sign off, enabling to quickly determine if there's any work outstanding on a client or view the overall status of a file. And it also eliminates multiple requests for the same information, as the working state will be clearly displayed to the accounts team. Now, the working papers management is fairly intuitive. It's fairly straightforward. So we don't really recommend any training is required to be purchased. You should see that we've provided quite a lot of training collateral in the software, in the announcements area, and also on the Wolters Kluwer website. Should you require training on site, though, we do provide a professional services team to come out on site to train you, maybe a collection of people if you do need a large number of people to be trained. Now, you can access all the training material from the main homepage. There is the announcements toolbar. If you cannot see announcements, you probably haven't enabled it, so you just need to right click, tick customize, and make sure that you've got the news selected in order to see those announcements. Within the announcements, it will show you quite a lot of training videos and training guides. As you can see, I've got Fixed Asset Register as well as Working Papers Management. But in terms of Working Papers Management, I talked about the roadmap, what is available at this present moment in time, and I can guess there's quite a lot of questions currently there. So again, you can click on the roadmap and you can have a look at what key developments we're working at and what we want to put into the software at that particular point. Now, that's more or less everything that I wanted to cover on the Working Papers Management. I do appreciate there was quite a lot of information to take, and thank you for the questions that everyone has been logging. I'll try and have a go at answering them at the end of the session, but we'll move swiftly on to the Fixed Asset Register for the remainder of the session. So, Fixed Asset Register basically is a single location for information on all a company's assets. So it makes the job of accounting for them quick and simple as possible. I did ask some questions in the poll around Fixed Asset Register, and again, whether or not you use a Fixed Asset Register for your clients, what do you use, and do you use corporation tax and AP? The Fixed Asset Register is usually held by a company to aid depreciation calculations, production of tangible fixed asset notes in the accounts, or to help with capital allowance calculations. So we've designed our Fixed Asset Register with these three facets in mind. It doesn't only provide the ledger for assets, but the aim is to reduce the duplication of entry. So if I've got the Fixed Asset Register and I enter my assets on an individual basis in accounts production, why do I need to go to the capital allowance area and key it in again? So this is what I'm going to clearly demonstrate on the session today. So just in terms of an overview, how does the Fixed Asset Register work? You can access it from both Accounts Production and CT. You'll see it all in one place. It minimizes the work that is required, like I mentioned, particularly with the capital allowances and also the depreciation postings. And again, just to echo what we have with Working Papers Management, it's very easy to get a grasp of and very intuitive. There are training videos available in the announcements area, as I showed you before. So let's take a look at how I do this within CCH Accounts Production. So I've created a brand new client called Fixed Limited on Central, and within my Accounts Production, I'm just going to log in for the first time. And as you can see, the client is completely blank. From my home page, I've got access to the Fixed Asset Register, and it's the same icon in CT as it is in Accounts Production. So by clicking on the fixed asset register, I can then view different things. I've got 4 main stages. I've got my summary, my asset classes, my individual assets, and then the asset movement. So basically you just drill down, because it's a SQL database, from one topmost area all the way down to the bottommost area. So you keep drilling down into it. The first thing that you must do is set up your assets classes, because within the asset classes it will set up the nominals that you prepare. So there's some good news for those of you who use the standard layouts, the standard asset classes. There's barely anything for you to do in terms of setup. You just click on the asset class that you have, select I use the master types, and then we've got the pre-made master nominals that you have. So let's say we add in some freehold property, press OK, it adds in the nominals by default. So all I need to do is just review and make sure that I've got the right depreciation methodology just at the end. Then just to add one more, back to my summary, upper level, go to my setup, click on the line, and then I could add in, let's say, motor vehicles. Again, really straightforward to use. Now that my asset classes are set up, I can close it down and I can begin my work as normal. So I'm going to go through and try to echo the typical processes I normally do when I'm preparing the accounts. So post the final trial balance. So my journals, quickly post a very brief amount of journals on there. I do want to make a profit on this, so I've got a capital allowance charge, corporation tax charge, let's say. Okay, so I've put in some sales and I've purchased a computer for £2,000. When I post this, it then will ask me to analyze it in the fixed asset register. That is because it's picked up the nominal I've used for IT equipment is a fixed asset nominal, and therefore it gives me the choice to analyze it out into more detail within the register. I can say no at that point and go back to the register and add the asset on separately. So this is particularly useful for maybe you are an accountant and you've got a client who uses Zero, for example. You've imported that data in from the cloud, but you don't have the details of the fixed assets at that point. So you just want to bring in the TB and you'll deal with the fixed assets later. Again, it gives you the flexibility to do that. So now that I've said yes, I can then put the details about the individual asset. So rather than starting at the summary or the class, it's gone straight into the subsection for the asset. So let's say I've spent £2,000 on a MacBook. The history section at the bottom of the asset shows all the different movement types. This will become live once I've saved the asset. So here I've got an asset movement. I'm going to start off with the asset addition, the start of the year for my MacBook. I can see now the history has that addition in there. I can use the breadcrumb trail, as you can see here, the hyperlink, to go forward and back up the fixed asset register on an ad hoc basis. So the addition is the furthest most along the asset movement. Then I can go back up in the breadcrumb trail out of the movement types to the actual asset itself, and I can make changes here to the overall IT equipment as a class, and then the summary as my overall report on all fixed assets, so I can see what the net book value is and the depreciation charge. Now, as I was an accountant in practice myself in a past life, I think the most important part of this, which I like, is that when you're in the asset, you get the reconciliation section at the bottom. So whereas I've got the asset register schedule, it does make sure that the postings that you've done in the fixed asset register does marry up with what you've imported from your bookkeeping or what you've typed in from your trial balance. So it clearly states here in the nominal ledger you posted £2,000, in your register you've got £2,000 from what you've put in terms of the asset. So that does make sense. So it does flag up when you've made a posting anomaly, or let's say there's a rounding issue of £1 that you can address. So you can address that in the nominal ledger. So that's a facility that is actually really well, and you'll see it in the feedback at the end, well revered by our customers who have adopted the fixed asset register. Another really neat facet as well, because again based on the feedback that we've seen, and it echoes the poll as well, is a lot of you have fixed asset registers already in Excel, and the barrier for you to adopt this historically has been data conversion. So we've introduced an import from Excel. So as long as in your Excel documents you've got all your data in a columnar format, because it is just an SQL database that you can just bring the data across, you can import from Excel. And we've had customers that have imported huge fixed asset ledgers with thousands of assets on them, like 3,000, 4,000 assets from Excel, and brought them across in here in a matter of well, I won't say seconds, but minutes. So even if you have got a fixed asset register in Excel, your adoption of this can be quite easy and straightforward, and again it is intuitive. Now my asset is on there, my MacBook for £2,000, that's the depreciation that needs to be charged. I can then click automatically post the depreciation journal for me and say yes. So back into Accounts Production, when I look on my transaction list, I've got my fixed asset register posting, so it updates. I could choose to post my fixed asset register manually, my depreciation manually if I wanted to, or import those depreciation postings. So again, that's not incumbent to do. Now what about the other aspects to this? So I've gone in, I've put my assets in within Accounts Production. I'm now going to just close Fixed down and go back into Central. This time we're going to have a look at the tax return. Now, for those of you that already use Accounts Production and CT from CCH, you're already aware that the two of them integrate. So when you populate, you can automate the data coming across. For those of you that are not using CT, just an outline, there's a navigator in bold. Basically it just indicates which bits have figures in or what's been imported. I can hide anything that I'm not used as well using the unused sources. The key areas in this are the summary. So this is my overall corporation tax charge. I've got this errors and exceptions. So this proves that the asset has come across because it says my additions have not been linked. When I click on that, I can see my MacBook has come directly into corporation tax. The elements in grey are all the bits that have been imported across from fixed asset register, so I can see it's been ticked here. So what I need to do is just link it to the trade. So I've got a manufacturing business, the MacBook is going to be part of the main pool, and I want to claim AIAs on it. So imagine if you had 3,000 assets and you had to type in all the details manually. Just clicking which allowance you want to claim, it makes life so much more easier. Once I put in the details, to save further changes, there is a link. So that will get rid of this error. And now I can see that my computer's reconciled with what I have in my accounts. So the comp does reconcile. That's all I needed to do. Once I brought in the figures, it automatically in CT will put in the add backs such as depreciation. All I need to do is these three things, say which trade, which pool, and what's the allowance type, and it brings it through into the comp. But CT also goes backwards as well. So if I go back to my summary, I'm happy with my final CT charge. I can now do a tax journal and therefore post the corporation tax journal back into accounts production. So if I click on that, I'm going to post the journal into Fixed for 2016. It already has the nominals for corporation tax in there. Post that as a journal. So if I went now into accounts production, so look at the transactions, I can see from CCH Corporation Tax that the journal for 19,850 has also come across as well. So the register goes both ways. It's completely integrated. I've had to do next to nothing by way of posting in CT, just clicking 3 options to say which allowance I want. Everything else has flowed across and then flowed back into accounts production. So I guess that is one of the most popular facets of using the two of them together. So I've just taken some of the topmost hits or quotes from customers who have used both the Working Papers Management and also the Fixed Asset Register. I think the important one is so that first one, about 2,500 client or fixed asset Excel import worked well, was easy to understand. And like I mentioned, the most popular aspect is the reconciliation element in the Fixed Asset Register. Working Papers Management, people are using it without training. There's no issues, it's not too hard to follow, and it's very straightforward. Now, just like I mentioned before, for both of these modules, they are very intuitive, so there's very little training required, and again, the customer comments do echo that. The training videos are in the announcements area, as I've mentioned before, and also from the support area directly inside the software as well. Now, probably the most important part, pricing. To get the best price, it's best to contact your regional account manager because there's probably different circumstances that will affect the price. For instance, if you're an accountant in practice, you have a number of clients. However, we do have quite a lot of corporate entities who only have one company but a lot of assets within them. So we'll try and look and give you the best price per application. So again, please contact your regional account manager. If you do not yet have an account manager, please register your interest on the cch.co.uk website and someone will call you back promptly. If you require a more in-depth analysis of this or you want a demonstration on site on your premises, again, feel free to email myself and I can arrange for a demonstration to be made at your business. That really covers everything that I wanted to demonstrate today. Thank you very much for listening. I'll now open up the closing poll. And for those of you that do want to stick around and ask or have questions already posed, I will go through that in a moment. So again, just take a moment just to answer the questions in the closing aspects of the poll, and I'll deal with your questions shortly for those of you who are going to stick around. If you are going to depart, again, thank you very much for spending some time with me today. Okay, I will answer some of the questions whilst people are still going through the poll. Thank you very much for those of you that have stuck around. So I'll just address the questions that haven't been answered. So some of you have stated that they've not been able to see the maintenance area within Working Papers. So you will only receive access to the Working Papers maintenance area if you do have the Working Papers activated. So you do need to purchase before you do see it. So you won't be able to go through there and have a demo of it. However, if you do want a demonstration, again, please free to register your interest and we can arrange for us to do a demonstration for you on premise or via individual web on a one-to-one basis. I do have a question about if a reviewer has signed off a section or a schedule, can the preparer go back and amend the schedule that's been signed off? So if someone has signed off the section, a preparer signed off the section, it will require the reviewer to almost unfinalize it for the preparer to make the change. So you will have to go back up the levels of command almost if you do realize that there has been a mistake and the reviewer has already ticked it off. The reviewer, the senior, the person with the highest access rights, has to undo what they've done in order for you to redo your correction, and then the reviewer can then resubmit it. So hopefully that has answered that question. Now someone has asked, can managers and partners carry out reviews of working papers offline? So if you do have the laptop traveling version of Central where you can take clients offline with their working papers, you have that facility, but it means that that specific install, the laptop removable version, would have to be on that machine in order to take working papers offline and then check them back in again. Now there's quite a few questions about the pricing model. So like I mentioned before, it will depend on the type of business. So for instance, the corporates may only require, say, one company worth of working papers or one company worth of fixed asset register. So that will be a different pricing model. So again, the price will be on application, but it should be just a nominal amount of what you're already being charged for accounts production. It's a small percentage. Now, someone has asked a question about audit automation. We currently use CCH Audit Automation with the Mercia packs. Will the AP working papers effectively replace audit automation? So just to answer that directly, it will not replace audit automation. Audit automation is designed or geared around audit, but what you could use for working papers management, it'll be really effective for your non-audit clients. So you can put in your own working papers and sign them off. And we do find that some people actually purchase both audit automation, so audit for the keep the audits almost as a separate niche with audit automation, and then for the non-audits you can use working papers management as separately. So it will not replace, it's designed to enhance, particularly for the non-audit clients. Now someone has asked, can you link schedules or upload documents to multiple clients? So there are ways around doing this. When you are in document management, you can link documents to multiple clients. So the way that you do that is you would have what we call associates. So let's say I've got a parent company and a subsidiary company. The parent is an associate of the subsidiary, and I don't mean associates in terms of consolidation, just they are associated with each other. So that would have to exist. When you upload the document into document management, it will then know that the document pertains to both entities. So within Working Papers Management, when you go to add in a new schedule and you click, I want to go into Document Manager, you should have access to the documents from another entity if they were both associated as well. So this echoes, say, with personal tax, you might have a client that you do the corporation tax return for, but also is a personal tax client. They're both the individual from a personal tax perspective and a corporation tax perspective are associated, but the document could be available to both because the director might be the same. So yes, it can be done. Now someone's asked, can I split a journals amount for multiple assets? So post one journal that covers all editions, then split them out when you click yes. So the crux of what that's saying is, could I put everything in as just one amount, one journal, net book value, let's say, and then I could repost a journal later? So yes, you can do that. So I talked about when I had my fixed asset register, I could do it several ways. I could post the journal, and when it picks up a fixed asset, it will then say, do you want to analyze out? And then I can analyze out at that stage. Or let's say if I was doing an import from another software, and I need to analyze out my movement separately in a separate journal, I could do that and then deal with the fixed asset register at a later point. What you will need then is, when you go into the fixed asset register, there's the reconciliation at the bottom, because that will tell you whether or not your figures do match up, the journals do match up. So again, the reconciliation feature will be of great use to you if you're just going to post one big journal with everything in it and then analyze it out later. So someone has asked, can you prorate or amend depreciation charges from the fixed asset register before automatically posting journals into CCH Accounts Production? And the answer is yes, you can. Everything is flexible. Everything is designed that you can change on the fly. If you automatically post depreciation, you can remove those depreciation postings, go back into the fixed asset register, change the rate of depreciation, and then click on post depreciation and calculate it again. So it is reversible. Someone has asked a question about corporation tax, because I demonstrated the facility of doing the tax journal. So that tax journal facility is included in your standard corporation tax. So exporting from CCH AP to CC and then back again, that facility will exist in your standard corporation tax and accounts production. If you are struggling to do that, just drop me an email and I can telephone you. I can go through how you do that on a personal basis, one-to-one basis. Alternatively, if you don't have the time, you can contact support. They'll go through it with you as well. My contact email address will be in the chat box just at the bottom. So I'll put my email address at the bottom there. Okay, so someone's asked about, can you get a report of the review points and how they've been cleared? So there is some basic reporting in Working Papers Management, but because it's using Central, you can use Smart Reports, or the reporting engine, to create a report. So there's some basic reporting functionality, but you can use Central to sort of design reports for your specific needs, because you can do pivot tables within there on a practice management element. So it can be done. You can get a report of the review points. You might have to do a bit of jiggery pokery to sort of get it to be in your own layout. Now someone has mentioned, is there an option of posting audit journal instead of journals? So yes, there should be a tick box within the posting in CT where you can select, is it an audit journal or is it an ordinary journal? So that will exist when you are sending your journals from CT back into accounts production. Okay, and a question that's just come through, does the fixed asset register also handle disposals when a journal is posted to a disposal nominal code? So yes, it does. It works exactly the same as the edition. You'll have probably a bit more work to do because you'll have to have the elimination on disposals and the P&L on disposal as well. But that's all handled by the fixed asset register. So as soon as you post to a disposal nominal, and you finish your TB, when you launch, it will say, do you want to analyze that in your fixed asset register? And then it will give you the reconciliation at the bottom, so you can clearly see what you've posted in terms of your disposals and make sure that it marries up with what you've put into the register. So again, the reconciliation will be of good use to you there. Now I think we've run out of time there, so I am going to close the webinar at that particular point. Like I've mentioned, in the chat box I have put down my email address for all attendees. So if you do have any questions that are still outstanding, if you want to request probably a bit more detailed pricing information, if you can't get, or you don't have an account manager, or if you do want to arrange another demonstration but on a one-to-one basis, we can arrange that for you as well. So please just take down my email address, which is just abdullah.wamala@wolterskluwer.com. It's in the chat box. Once again, thank you very much for your time this afternoon. I do wish you all the best and a happy evening, and maybe I will speak to you in the future. We do intend to host more webinars throughout the rest of the year. So again, if you are interested in specific topics, also feel free just to drop me an email and request for specific topics to be produced. Once again, thank you very much for your time and have a good evening.